Seeing none, those will stand approved. And we will take public comment on items not on the agenda. If anyone wants to do that, please come up to the podium and say your name.
John Ulrich, Ward 1. Anyhow, to continue on my story, which is based in truth. So the last story I told you is absolutely happened. It's court record. This one is as well. I have an officer, Ethan Smith, right? The city doesn't enforce civil actions from the district court. Never have. Ethan Smith did. Took this document, said, no, you've been told to pay by taking your property. That property was titled to me. It wasn't titled to the person to be sold or who got sued. I wasn't even on that document. But yet the city acted to take my property, my rental property. And one of them was a HUD Section 8 rental. Had the inspection, everything. The inspector came and said, you did the best remodel I've ever seen on a mobile home into a house ever. You know, this thing about the mute, I checked it out. I'm talking freely and honestly from court transcript. I'm not talking about things that just to jag at people, but I've not gotten anybody reach out to me and say, hey, how can we fix what we did wrong to you, Mr. Ulrich? What I've gotten was, hey, he's in the pipe. Cram him down there as far as we can. Shut him the hell up. I have a letter from his dad. Says, if I come into City Hall, I'll be arrested. Then it says, all my communications to anybody will be routed to a central point. They'll decide whether it has any relevance, and then they'll proceed ahead. If that's not Nazi communist First Amendment blocking, I don't know what is. Right? And why? Oh, I figured this out. You're scared because you did something wrong to me. I'd be scared if I took someone's property without justification, but I've never threatened anyone. I've never made any kind of insinuation of terror. But that man writes a letter and all of a sudden I can't go into City Hall like every other person in this town. And I got an army of haters because I stepped forward and stood against the people who said, no, we're doing what's right. You show me where the city police enforce civil actions from district court, especially ones that don't include my name, and then they use it to take my property. That counted to $180,000 of rental income. Gee, do you think if I had that money, I'd be houseless or would have been houseless? Hell no. But does that matter? You guys will throw $2-3 million in TIF money at one of these big developers from out of state. Do you know that's a contract? If you're getting a contract, that means prevailing wage. It's got to be checked. Somebody in this body needs to start checking everybody that does contracts with this city and make sure they pay their employees the living wage. Why? Because if you don't do that, you're giving a coupon to people who are competing with people in the real world. Red's Towing, you talk about that. They compete with the rest of the world, but they don't have to pay living wage when they're contracted for leaf removal and they're contracted to impound cars, which they steal from cars blindly. And it says on their thing, oh, we're not responsible for theft. Then you call the city and the city says, oh, we indemnify ourselves from any theft from any impounded vehicle. A license to steal, just like my trailers. It was a HUD Section 8 rental that I was getting paid for. This isn't just some whim that I said, oh boy, I'm going to scub this piece of crap trailer together and rent it out. I made places with sheetrock and updated plumbing because I did 40 years as a carpenter and a construction worker. And it was all taken from me and you're all sitting back laughing and I'm struggling to breathe and get the air. And y'all just go, oh, well, not my fault, not my life, not nothing. You guys can do something about this and you just choose not to.
Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? And if you are attending virtually, you can raise your hand if you want to provide public comment on items not on the agenda. Yep, come on up. Just state your name and 3 minutes.
Mike Cole. And this is real quick. It's about the meeting this coming Wednesday, the land use planning meeting for Expo Parkway. Today, both the Prospect Subdivision President and the Prospect Meadows Subdivision President submitted letters to the board and to the planning department. And I don't know if you've received those or not yet, but if you haven't, they should be available through the planning department by tomorrow morning. So, and that was it. Thank you.
I believe those were received. Thank you. Any other comment on items not on the agenda? Come on up and just say your name into the mic and 3 minutes.
I'm David Evernham, and I've never done this before, so I'm not very good at it. Everybody on the council, Marty, long time no see. Thanks for being on the council. I really appreciate it. I wish John was here, but he's not. It's a hard job. I wouldn't want to do it. We have a great mayor that's done wonderful things. You got the water system. That's huge. We have a great trail system in this town for bikes and hiking. Reserve Street Footbridge was a great idea and allows easy access to the Bidrit bike trail. It was completed 3 years ago. Actually, I worked on it. It has heated deck panels, the same panels that are on Hagen Street Bridge that get too hot, the sun burn dogs' pads. The first winter it was in use, it wouldn't thaw the ice below 20 degrees. Then one of the panels shorted out and melted. It was closed by Parks and Rec. It is guaranteed 5 years. It is still broken and there was an electrical leak on it. Also, it was open 2 winters. Parks and Rec applied salt on it to take care of the ice. The salt has eroded the iron structure badly. It needs to be fixed and all the salt needs to be washed off. Core 10 steel is not used by the ocean because it rots out in 2 years from the salt. Reserve Street Bridge is all Core 10 steel except for the panels. Could somebody with authority please call Jackson Contractor Group and get them to honor their guarantee? The $4.5 million bridge, it needs to be fixed. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Everingham.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Public comment and items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll go forward with our agenda. Next, we have committee meetings. We have no committee membership appointments or changes to the committee agendas that I'm aware of, but if you could go through the committee meetings, Marty, thank you.
I can. Here we go. I'll make them a little bit bigger. So this is City Council's committee schedule for June 22nd. That's this coming Wednesday. All of these meetings are being held via Zoom webinar, and information about how to join each webinar is located on the top of each respective committee agenda. And I showed how to access that at the beginning of our meeting. So let's go here. Public Works and Mobility Committee will meet from 10:55 in the morning until 12:25. They'll be taking up 3 items. There's a Patty Creek Restoration Letter of Agreement, Construction Services Agreement with Western Excavating, Knife River, and Paulson Electric for emergency repair service, and the South Sussex Bypass right-of-way and public utility easement vacation. Housing, Redevelopment, and Community Programs Committee will meet following Public Works Committee. That meeting begins at 12:40 and continues to 1:15. They'll take up 2 items. One is the appointment to the Public Art Committee, and the second is the Homeward Creekside tax credit application. City Council set the public hearing on that last week, and this week you'll be having a preview about exactly what that project is. Land Use and Planning Committee will meet from 1:45 to 3:45, and they'll be taking up appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. They'll be having a preview on the public forum for Missoula County Fairgrounds signs. And they will be taking up Expo Parkway. It's 2900, 2920, and 2990 Expo Parkway, Grant Creek Villages Development Agreement. So this is not the rezoning, this is the development agreement. And the Budget and Finance Committee will round out the day. They'll be meeting from 4 o'clock to 4:30 and taking up a contract for Acela Premium Citizen Experience powered by Open Cities. Acela is permitting software used by the city. The committee will also be taking up the purchase of 2 15-passenger vans for the Parks and Recreation Department. And finally, considering the renewal of office space leases for 414 and 400 Ryman and 198 Pine.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda were approved in city council committees to be placed on the consent agenda to save time at council meetings by voting on them as a package. City clerk will read the list aloud so citizens watching on MCAT or YouTube will know what is on the consent agenda. We'll invite community comment on these items before we vote. Ms. Rabine, the consent agenda.
Alrighty, let me share my screen so everybody can follow along with me. Tonight's consent agenda, folks, has 3 items, and the first is to approve accounts payable. And this week they're big because we have lots of bond payments that we're doing. It's $10,909,906.49 for checks dated June 21st of 2022. Number 2 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign these amended grant administration agreements with Truett Consulting and Psy Designs for the National Institute of Health grant funded project called The Link, a collective impact place-based approach to inspiring Montana's next generation healthcare workforce. And finally, number 3 is to adopt a resolution of intention to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula one certain parcel of land described as portion A of Lot A1 in the Fairway View Edition, Lot 1A and Lot A1 and Lot A2 located in Section 1, Township 12, North, Range 20 West, Principal Meridian, Montana, is shown on Exhibit A of the referral and Exhibit B, and zone the property Fairway View Addition planned unit development based on the findings of fact in the staff report, subject to recommended conditions of approval, and set a public hearing on that matter for June 27th, 2022. Refer this item to the Land Use and Planning Committee for June 29th, 2022. So that motion sounds like we're doing the zoning tonight, but what we are actually doing is we are only setting the public hearing on the annexation and zoning of this property. And City Council will conduct that public hearing first and reserve judgment until later. Thanks.
Thank you, Marty. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? If so, come up to the podium, or if you are virtual, just raise your hand, *9. Seeing no public comment, any comment from council? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Marty?
Okay. On the consent agenda, here we go. Let's see, Becerra.
Yes.
Carlino.
Yes.
Contos.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
Yes.
And West.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. That passes. We have no comments from city staff, city agencies, community forum, neighborhood councils, boards, commissions, or authorities, but we do have a special proclamation for tonight that I will read. And this is regarding World Refugee Day. Whereas since 2000, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has recognized June 20th as World Refugee Day, which celebrates the strength and courage of people who've been forced to flee their home country to escape conflict or persecution. And whereas since 1980, the U.S. Refugee Act has represented the United States government's commitment to protecting refugees through resettlement and asylum programs. And whereas the city of Missoula recognizes the immense economic, cultural, and social contributions refugees and immigrants provide to our community. And whereas Soft Landing Missoula formed in 2015 to welcome refugee and immigrant families to Missoula with open arms and hearts. And whereas since 2016, The International Rescue Committee has welcomed more than 500 displaced people to Missoula, including people from Afghanistan, Burma, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Iraq, and Syria. And whereas World Refugee Day 2022 is dedicated to recognizing the strength and resilience of our refugee neighbors, as well as providing opportunities to rebuild their lives in safety and dignity. Now, therefore, I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the 20th of June, 2022 as World Refugee Day, and that is signed by the mayor on June 20th. I believe there are people in the audience that wanted to speak to this tonight. If so, please come up and state your name. Thanks, just come on up.
Mary Poole. Thank you guys. I'm the executive director of Soft Landing, Missoula. And it's really awesome that the effort was put forth to re-energize and recommit our city to celebrating World Refugee Day. We had lots of proclamations and resolutions when we started in 2015. And we're always so grateful for your work and just incredibly grateful for this community and the welcome that it has given to refugees that have arrived and refugees yet to come here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work. Anyone else in the audience that wants to come up? Here we go.
Sarah Howerton. I'm the development coordinator at the International Rescue Committee in Missoula. And this year, IRC's message about World Refugee Day is that refugees bring more than they carry. That's traditions, experiences, skills, the list could go on. And I think we've seen that manifest itself here in our city. And so I just wanted to thank you all for your ongoing support for refugee resettlement in the city, and I hope we can continue in the years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, just state your name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Mwingwa, M-W-I-N-G-W-A. The refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I'm the Montana delegate for Refugee Congress. It's a pleasure for me to stand in front of you, and I just come here just to thank Montana State and the city of Missoula and all the Missoulians for all things they did for us. We feel home when we are in Missoula. Thank you for today.
Thank you. I'm glad you feel at home here. Any other comments from council that want, or I'm sorry, comments from the audience that wanted to come up? Okay, I have a feeling we've got some council comments. Ms. Becerra.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank all the organizations and institutions and the volunteers that make it possible for our newest members of Missoula to feel at home. And I also want to thank all the refugee community members for everything that you bring. You certainly enrich our culture. You give us some of your culture. And for that, I'm very grateful, and I think you're making Missoula better. Thanks.
Thank you. And we had Ms. Cheryl next.
Yeah, thanks. I think Ms. Becerra said pretty much what I was going to say. I mean, there's no question in my mind that the refugee community in Missoula adds to the flavor and just the diversity and greatness of our city. But my daughter volunteers at Soft Landings and tutors the kids there, and has been doing that for the last year on and off. I'm not sure. I think they sometimes make more TikToks than they do math, but she tries to get them to do math. But that has been just in one kind of tiny little piece of Missoula, which is my daughter's experience, has been just really rewarding and really eye-opening, and has just added to that one teenage Missoulian's life. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Ms. Vasika.
Thanks. I just wanted to echo what my colleagues have said. Thank you to everyone who helps out with these wonderful refugees that come into our town. And I'm so happy that you feel at home here. And thank you for all the work that you do. And thank you for everything that you do for our community.
Great. Any other comments from council? And so first of all, thank you to everyone that came down tonight to comment. And I would echo my colleagues' comments also. And it's a pleasure to read this proclamation tonight. And it's a pleasure to have refugees being able to come to our community and all of the help that Soft Landings can give them, because we had engaged citizens that stepped up to just make it happen. So thanks for doing that. All right, everyone, we're going to move on, but lovely addition tonight. We have no final consideration matters tonight. We have no public hearings. We have nothing under committee reports. Is there any new business by anyone to bring? Seeing none, I will pass on communications from the mayor, and we will go to general comments from council and start with Ms. West. Ms. Becerra. Pass. Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, that was great to hear the proclamation. And I just wanted to mention that when we've been talking about some of the crashes on Orange Street and Stevens Avenue that are kind of the same street, somebody from Soft Landing reached out to me recently just to say that this year alone, 2 people have left Soft Landing and got struck by vehicles like right on Stevens there. And it's completely solvable from changing the street design, but obviously we need Montana Department of Transportation's approval. But I just think it's something on the forefront of my mind. It's one of the most dangerous streets in Missoula because of the double blind crosswalk. So eventually hoping that we can all push to make it converted to 3-lane road and make it a little bit safer for people, especially after Soft Landing folks have been hit there multiple times by cars this year and lots of bikers. And it's something that's definitely solvable with good street design in the future.
Mr. Nugent.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to acknowledge all the flooding going on in other parts of the state and take it as an opportunity to be obviously thankful that we're not having the same issues in Missoula to that level, but also remind people that it is something that you don't think about being prepared for until you are in it. There's a website, floodsmart.gov, that FEMA runs to help people be flood prepared, to give advice on flood insurance if it's something people should consider, even if they're in an area that doesn't necessarily require it. It's worth being prepared.
You, Mr. Contos.
Yes, thank you. Just recently, I got the opportunity to speak with some police officers and detectives at the bowling alley. I'm part of a networking group, and they're hanging out at the table, and I went over to try to make them laugh or say something stupid to lighten up the atmosphere. Not that it was bad. I asked them if they had fixed everything in the city, and yeah, I got an answer there. But, as I was saying some things, I told them, I said, I really appreciate what you guys do. It's absolutely amazing. And I did a ride along Friday night, and we came up on a pretty serious accident. And the car that I was in was the first one there, followed by 7 other police cars, 3 EMTs, 2 fire trucks. And I was just absolutely amazed and blown away at the organization and everything that was done there. Everything went very smoothly. And one of the policemen came up to me, I guess he could sense I was a ride along, and says, I just started my shift, and you can never tell what's on the other side of your call when you show up. And so he showed up to this. And then he said something about the night before. And I thought, my gosh, these guys get a phone call. They get limited information, or the most that they can get. And they really have no idea what's on the other side. And they're prepared, and they're very organized. And I thought, these guys need more recognition. So I would just like to suggest, if you see a policeman hanging out somewhere, give him a donut, say hi, give him a thumbs up, something to encourage those guys. Because when I was encouraging them at the bowling alley, they stopped what they were doing and looked up at me and said, we don't get that very often. I thought, well, you'll get it from me. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Ms. Vasica?
Thanks. I wanted to echo what John just said. I really am very appreciative of our first responders. I had the pleasure of doing a ride along with the police department and the fire department in the past, and what they do is absolutely incredible. So big thank you from me as well. I also wanted to follow up on what Mike said. Flood insurance is very important. My heart goes out to all the folks that are affected with the floods in Montana. I couldn't take my eyes away from a lot of the videos and pictures that I saw. It was just incredible what forces of nature can do. With that, there is a 30-day waiting period for flood insurance usually. So if you want to get it sooner is better. Also, I wanted to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Special happy Father's Day to my father and my father-in-law. I wouldn't be who I am today without your influence. And extra special happy Father's Day to my husband, because he's a wonderful father to our baby. So thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that June is Reentry Month, and reentry has to do with our returning citizens coming from incarceration and reintegrating into the community. And there's a few activities happening. Missoula Interfaith Collaborative is putting on this month. June 21st, there's a movie with Father Boyle at the Roxy Theater from 7:30 to 10:30, and the same thing on June 27th. And then June 28th, there is a decriminalization of poverty speech and a simulation. So you can find out more about what it's like to actually get released from jail and still have some unintended consequences in front of you that you have to navigate through in order to reclaim your life post incarceration. So if you want more information, just do a Google search on Missoula Interfaith Collaborative Reentry Month, and I hope you can come. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Savage.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Rabine for planning an all-day field trip for new council people on Friday. We started at the firehouse and we ended, oh my gosh, at the animal shelter, I think. And we went all day and we were able to see lots of city services and places that we just haven't been able to see as new counselors because of COVID. And so I really appreciated the effort. And I certainly have to say my favorite was the wastewater treatment plant. I thought it was fascinating, and we might be getting a new kitten. So, but seriously, thank you so much, Marty. I know that took a lot of time and effort to plan. Thank you.
Thanks. And Ms. Cheryl.
I'm going to pass tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no miscellaneous communications reports or announcements and no other items of business. So we will stand adjourned.